You look good out there, baby. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Look here. It's been too hard living, and I'm afraid to die. Look here. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, I wish I could come out there where you are, baby. A long time coming, but I know, look at here, a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Look at here. Let me say one more thing. I go to the movie and I go downtown. But all I can hear is somebody keep telling me, oh boy, don't hang around. It's been a long. If anybody know what I'm talking about, let me see you wave your hand. I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. But I've got to take my time and say this, look. Then I go to my brother. Yes, sir. And I tell him, I said, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me. He knocks me back down on my. Somebody say, yeah, I can last long. I know I'm able. I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, good God Almighty, a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Look at here. One more time. Look. But then I go to my brother. Somebody take your hand back and forth like this. Everybody. You sitting in the first balcony too. Help me, please. All over the auditorium tonight. All over the. Hallelujah. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. That's the times what I thought I couldn't last for long. No, I know I'm able. Change gonna come. And oh, yes it will. Somebody say yeah. You all back here, let me hear you say yeah.
Hello, this is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on the all-new #1 global radio station, WMAD. Before I do my live broadcasting, I always dine in at the all-new Main Street Seafood Restaurant located in downtown Columbia, Louisiana, owned and operated by Mitch Brett. Check them out. I did.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. As I just stated in the commercial, before I go any further, I always dine in at Mitch Bratton, Main Street Seafood. But before I go any further in this broadcast tonight, I have to say thank God, thank God, thank God. Because I am in a brand new studio with high-tech equipment, cameras rolling, speakers all around me, so forth and so on. So had it not been for the good Lord himself, where would I be? Oh, wretched man like me, where would I be? So I told you guys back in December of 2014, starting January 1 of 2015, that the Smoking Glass Hour is on the move in 2015. So you should have a high quality sound that's out there. You should be able to hear very crisp and clear. I'm joined tonight by some good friends that are in the engineering room that's making sure everything is going right. Again, you're going to see the cameras rolling. You're going to see us going live as we are right now. I'm joined by Mr. Gary and Mr. Cecil. And I'm not going to give the last name of individuals because at this point they want to remain anonymous. But what I have to say once again is thank God, thank God, thank God. And I am actually grinning like a chess cat on the inside because who would have ever thought 2 years ago when I started this, the Smoking Glass Hour in WMAD, along with one of my other good friends, co-partners, and all the other staff around at WMAD 24-hour global radio, we have to say once again, thank God, thank God, thank God. Now, today's broadcast is going to be very intense. We know around the world that prison systems are making money from left to right. So today's topic is this: Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. Again, the prison capital of the world. Louisiana is the world's prison capital. We know that. The state imprisoned more of its people per head than any of the U.S. counterparts, first among Americans, means first in the world. Louisiana's incarceration rate is nearly 5 times Iran. Remember, 5 times Iran, and 13 times China, and 20 times Germany. Let me make sure you understand what I just said. Louisiana's incarceration rate is nearly 5 times that of Iran, 13 times of China, and 20 times of Germany. So what does that say for the most industrialized nation it is on this planet? The hidden engine behind the state's well-oiled prison machine is cold, hard cash. It's a moneymaker. A majority of Louisiana inmates are housed for-profit facilities. They are housed at for-profit facilities, which must be supplied with a constant influx of human beings, or at $182 million, an industry will go bankrupt. Listen, $182 million. The industry would go bankrupt. Okay, I just got my first text that says you sound good, crisp, and clear. So I'm ready to defeat my opponent, which is the team that's out there. I'm trying to score a touchdown. Several homegrown private prison companies command a slice of the market, and we already know that. But in a uniquely Louisiana twist, most prisoners, entrepreneurs, are rural sheriffs who hold tremendous sway in remote parishes like Madison Parish, Avals Parish, East Carroll Parish, and Concordia. A good portion of Louisiana's law enforcement is financed with dollars legally skimmed off the top of prison operations. If the inmate count were to dip, guess what? Sheriffs would bleed money. Their constituents would lose jobs. The prison lobby industries that ensures this does not happen, they do it by thwarting nearly every reform that could resist and fuel people behind bars. So you ask the question, why do we have so many people that's in jail? I just told you, so many people in jail because the prison system is a money maker. A money maker. And we know that. Meanwhile, inmates subsist in bare bone conditions with few programs to give them a better shot at becoming productive citizens. Now, I talked a little bit about this last night from ex-cons, convicted felons who have to pay their debts to society, who have paid their debts to society rather, and still receive that revolving door. Now, let me give you a startling fact. Each inmate is worth $24.39 a day in the state money. And guess what? Sheriffs, they trade off them individuals like horses, unloading a few extras on a colleague who has an opening. So in other words, when you see an inmate going from point A to point B, what they're doing is they're trading. They're playing this horse game. So again, all of this is about money. So the question that I have for you tonight is this: is there a such thing as rehabilitation? A prison system that leased it convicts as a plantation labor in the 1800s, guess what? Has come full circle in the gain of nexus for profit. Again, for profit. Now, if you understand, this is a passion. This is something that everybody in this country, or across this country rather, need to become involved. And that's why the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio, that's why we're bringing all of these topics to your living room. So you can sit down and drink your coffee. It's about 5:08, so most people should be listening to TV8 News. But guess what? TV8 News is telling you about something that's around the geographical area, the region. They're not telling you about what's going on directly in your parish. Guess what? The Smoking Glass Hour is doing just that. In the past decades, Louisiana's prison population has doubled. Not single digits, but double digits, costing taxpayers billions of dollars, while New Orleans continues to lead the nation in homicides. Now, we're talking about the Big Easy. We're talking about New Orleans leading the city, okay, leading the state in homicide. Okay, 1 in 86 adult Louisianans is doing time, nearly double the national average. Among black men from New Orleans, 1 in 14 is behind bars. Remember these facts. 1 in 7 is either in prison, on parole, or on probation. Crime rates in Louisiana are relatively high, but that does not begin to explain the state's #1 ranking year after year after year in the percentage of residents it locks up. Now, let's look again. In Louisiana, a 2-time car burglary can get 24 years without parole. Let me say that again. In Louisiana, let me say it slow. A 2-time car burglar can get 24 years without parole. A trio of drug convictions can be either enough to land you in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is Angola, for the rest of your life. Now, let me make sure that you understand this. A trio, which means 3-time drug convictions, marijuana, whatever, can be enough to land you at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is Angola, for the rest of your life. Now, if this does not concern you, then I don't know what will. The reason why I'm saying this, is that some crimes committed, individuals, in my opinion, and some others, believe that those inmates should go to some type of rehabilitation places like drug treatment, rather than being thrown in jail, get in there with other criminals, and when they come out, they come out worse than they did going in. Now, almost every state lets judges decide when to mete out the severest punishment and when a sympathetic defendant should have a chance at freedom down the road. In Louisiana, guess what? Murderers automatically receive life. Automatically receive life without probation or parole on the guilty votes, not out of 12 out of 12 jurors. Think about this. 10 out of 12 jurors can send you to the pen. Not 12 out of 12, not a unanimous. 10 out of 12, which some of the other states are a little bit different. So you have to ask yourself, is there a lot of fairness? So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to pause for a short moment. I'm going to play a little bit of one of the guys out of the Bay Area by the name of Eric E.Q. Youngs. Let's Ride. We're going to play that, and I'll be back in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Tune in.
Let's ride. I'm taking you out tonight. I think you're so special. Have I told you that I loved you lately? And I'm so glad you're my baby. My heart is proud when I sing about you. And every day I know I can't live without you. And I don't mind, I gave up my hustle. For the things you need, I'll use my muscle. Girl, get your bag, we're going out. So we're going out to paint the town. Let's ride. We're going out tonight. So we're going out tonight. Let's ride. So let's ride. We're going out tonight. Now put your favorite dress on and put on your high heel shoes and some of that perfume, that one that smells so good on you. So good on you. Then after dinner, baby, we're going out to hit the town and dance and party all down. Then late night, we'll drive up the coastline and watch the sunrise, just you and I. Let's ride. Let's ride. We're going out tonight. So we're going out tonight. Let's ride. So let's ride. We're going out tonight. Taking out my baby. Let's ride. Let's ride. We're going out tonight. Gonna wine and dine. Gonna take my baby high. We're going
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. You just heard some of the sounds of Mr. Eric E.Q. Young out of the Bay Area, and I had the opportunity to interview Eric just before, and he also played with the band Confunction. So we do have explicit rights to use that music, in anything that we do to help promote. He also has a very good album that he just came out with. Again, we're talking about Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. We also heard the little commercial by my two little nieces, Mo and Lulu, out of, I believe it's somewhere out of Monticello, Arkansas. Mr. Castles is their mother. Lorraine Legg is their grandparents. So I appreciate those kids being able to get involved and do some things that we've asked them to do. So here we are. Let's get back. The lobbying muscle of the sheriffs, buttressed by a tough-on-crime electorate, that keeps these harsh sentencing schemes firmly in place. Something has to be done about this. It just has to be done among the long sentences. Now, this is a direct quote from a warden, Burl Cain, who might be a candidate for candidate for the gubernatorial election, if I'm not mistaken. That's Burl Cain said that something has to be done. Some people you can let out of here, okay, and that won't hurt you. Okay, those people actually won't hurt you. Okay, but here's the deal. You can become a productive citizen just because you may have done something. It won't prevent you from being a productive citizen, is what Burl Cain is saying. So every dollar spent on prisons is a dollar not spent on schools, hospitals, and highways. Now, people always say education is the top priority. Well, guess what? Education is the first priority that's cut. The first actual category in a priority that's cut. Now, other states are strategically reducing their prison population using tactics known in the policy circle as smart on crime. Now, what does that mean? I'll let you figure that out. Smart on crime. Compared with the national average. Now, check it out. Louisiana has a much lower percentage of people incarcerated for violent offenses and a much higher percentage behind bars for drug offenses. So the question is that smart on crime? When you're putting people that are using drugs in jail, but you're letting those who have violent offenses out of jail? Come on, now don't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Perhaps a signal that some nonviolent criminals could be dealt with very differently. Now, the question is, do all of Louisiana, 40,000 inmates need to be incarcerated for the interest of punishment and public safety to be served? Now, let's look at what Governor Bobby Jindal has said, who is a very conservative Republican with presidential ambition. Now, he says the answer is no. Despite locking up more people for longer periods than any other state, Louisiana has one of the highest rate of both violent and property crimes. Yet the state shows no sign of weaning itself off of its prison dependence. So when you look at a crackhead, you look at a person that's on drugs, you look at somebody who is addicted or has an addiction, they have a dependence. So the question is, will Louisiana and some of these other states ever get off of the dependence of prison population? It's a money-making machine. Now, we also interviewed a couple of weeks ago Dr. Sinclair Gray, who has written several books on the prison population, the prison pipeline between education and the prison system, where they take formulas of kids basically in the third grade, so forth and so on. And based on those kids that are getting in trouble and going into alternative school, they create a formula. And that formula tells them exactly how many prisons should be built down the road. Now, we also know that we have people who are so invested in maintaining the present system, not just the sheriff, but there are people in other high places, such as judges, prosecutors, and other people who have links to it. Now, a former professor at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Burke Foster, he's an expert on Louisiana prisons. And here's what he says. They don't want to see the prison system get smaller or the number of people in custody reduced, even though the crime rate is down, because the good old boys are all linked together in the punishment network, which is good for them financially and politically. So everybody who's out there asking the question, why are all of these prisons being built? The Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass has just provided you the fact. We have just provided you what we've always known along. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and money ain't everything. It's the only thing. Remember once again, money ain't everything. It's the only thing. So my thing is this. I'm not sure what is going on, but I can tell you this, is that we, at the outset of the show, we played Sam Cooke by Reverend Al Green, A Change Is Gonna Come. The question is, when will this change come for the state of Louisiana? Again, an expert professor from the ULL, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, who is an expert, by the way, Burke Foster. He says this, and I'll read again. They don't want to see the prison system get smaller or the number of people in custody reduced, even though the crime rate is down, because the good old boys are all linked together in the punishment network, which is good for them financially and politically. Now, we all know this is a problem. In the early 1990s, let's look at that. When the incarceration rate was half of what it is now, Louisiana was at a crossroad. Under a federal court order to reduce overcrowding, the state had two choices. The state of Louisiana had two choices. Either lock up fewer people or build more prisons. And guess what they did? They built more prisons and they locked up more people. It achieved everything that I just said. They built more prisons and they locked up more people. Now, we know that there was no money for all of this. But by encouraging sheriffs to foot the construction bill in return for future profits, we also know that the financial incentives were so sweet and the correction jobs so sought after that new prisons sprouted up all over Louisiana like flies on food on the ground. The national prison population was expanded at a rapid clip, and guess what? Louisiana grew even faster. There was no need to rein in the growth by keeping sentencing laws in line with those of other states or by putting minor offenders in alternative programs. The new sheriff's bed were ready and waiting. Overriding became, let me back up and say that again, because I need to make sure that people understand. The national prison population expanded rapidly. Louisiana grew even faster. Overcrowding became a theme of the past, even as the inmate population multiplied rapidly, not subtracted, multiplied. If we look at if the sheriffs hadn't built those extra spaces in certain places around the state, we'd either have to go to the legislature and say, guess what? Give us more money, or we'd have to reduce the sentences, making it easier to get parole and communion. And get rid of people who shouldn't be in jail anyway. Now, Richard Kane, who is a former general counsel for the Louisiana Department of Correction, he had some input in some of this as well. And not only him, Lieutenant D. Hudson and some of those other places. Now, but if you look at today, a lot of wardens make daily rounds of calls to other sheriff prisons in search of convicts. Guess what? To fill their bed. Urban areas such as New Orleans and Baton Rouge have an excess of sentenced criminals, while prison in remote parishes must import inmates just to survive. Okay, just to survive. The more empty beds, the more an operation sinks into the red. And that's not what sheriffs want to happen. That's not what wardens want to happen. With maximum occupancy and a thrifty touch with expenses, guess what? A sheriff can divert the profits to his law enforcement arms, outfitting his deputies with new squad cars, guns and laptops, so forth and so on. Inmates spend months or years in an 80-man dormitory with nothing to do and few educational opportunities before being released into society with $10 and a bus ticket. Now, if you reflect back on what I talked about last night on ex-cons, how they have to deal with re-entering to society, we now know that all of this stuff was a master plan by the Smoking Glass Hour, because I fed you enough yesterday, and now I'm giving you the final touches. Now, a deputy warden of Tensas Parish Detention Center named Fred Schoonover has a 522-bed facility in northeast Louisiana. He says he does not view inmates as a commodity, but check this out. But he acknowledges that the prison business model is built on head count. What does the head count mean? That means money. Like other wardens in this part of the state, he wheels and deals to maintain his tally of human beings. His boss, which is Tensas Parish Sheriff Ricky Jones, relies on him to keep the numbers up. So anytime you go visit a prison and you see empty beds, guess what? Somebody's going to either be arrested or somebody's going to have to occupy that bed because they do not want it to remain vacant. Now, we struggle a lot. Okay, we struggle all over the state trying to hustle a few inmates to fill those beds. Now, some sheriffs, even a small percentage in those smaller towns, they lease their prison rights to private companies. Let's take, for instance, a LaSalle Correctional Center that is based, I believe in Ruston somewhere, plays a role in housing one of 7 Louisiana prisons. LCS Correction Services, another homegrown company, runs 3 Louisiana prisons and is a major donor to political campaigns, including those of urban sheriffs who supply rural prisons with inmates. So now you know, LCS Services, a homegrown company, runs 3 Louisiana prisons and is a major donor to political campaigns, including those of urban sheriffs who supply rural inmates. Now, we must ask ourselves again, the question is, what is it that we can do to make this better? We're going to pause right now because we're looking at about 5:29 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD. We're going to play you a short drop and we'll be right back.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Yes, ma'am. We are back broadcasting live on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass and WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. We're talking today about the topic, Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. And I'm also joined right here in the studio once again, like I said, by a couple of guests. And I'm going to see at some point if they'd be willing to engage in some of this information that we're putting out. We don't want to force anybody to talk. We don't believe in that. We believe in giving a person their own free will and accord to do as they choose. The Bible tells us, let every man be swayed by his or her own heart. And that's what we're going to do. So to make sure that everybody understands, we are actually having fun today in the newest studio that we have the privilege of broadcasting from. Now, we know that incarceration on the cheap is an industry that makes money. Ask anyone who has done time in Louisiana whether he or she would rather be in a state-run prison or a local sheriff-run prison. The answer is invariably a state-run prison. Inmates in local prisons are typically serving sentences of 10 years or less on nonviolent charges such as drug possession, burglary, or writing bad checks or some of the other crimes that's out there. But state prisons are reserved for the worst of the worst. Yet it is the murderers, the rapists, and other long-term inmates who learn trades like welding, auto mechanics, air conditioning repair, and plumbing. Now, listen to this. Angola's Bible College offers the only chance for Louisiana inmates to earn an undergraduate degree. Let me make sure I regurgitate what I just said. Now, when we look at the inmates in local prisons, they are typically serving sentences of 10 years or less for nonviolent charges, such as drug possession, burglary, or writing bad checks. State prisons are reserved for the worst. But listen to what I'm about to say. Yet, it is those murderers, those rapists, those other long-termers who learn trades. So the question is this: why those people who are in there for short term not learning any trades? Why are we giving trades to those who may not ever see the daylight beyond 10 years? So the question is, again, I'm asking you, how much of all of this old mentality are we going to continue to allow to happen? Again, it won't happen. It will continue to happen if we don't get out and vote. It will continue to happen if we don't get out and elect the right people. Such opportunities are not available to 50% or 53% of those serving their time in local prison. In a cruel irony, I'd like to add, those who could benefit most are unable to better themselves, while men who die in prison proudly show off fistfuls of educational certificates. Again, I just stated this. People who are dying are able to have educational certificates. People who go to jail and are able to come out, they have nothing to show but stigma with a track record that says convicted felon who received the revolving door on a daily basis. Again, we're talking about Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. We're talking about ex-cons who have paid their debts to society, who still receive the revolving door on a daily basis. Now, let's look at Louisiana specializes in incarceration on the cheap, allocating by far the least amount of money per inmate of any state in the union. I mean, let's make sure you hear this again. Louisiana specializes in incarceration on the cheap, allocating by far the least amount of money per inmate of any state. The per diem is $24.39, which is several times lower than what Angola and other state-run facilities spend, even before the sheriff takes his share. Now, we have to be honest about this. All local wardens, they can offer GED classes and perhaps an inmate-led support group such as Alcoholics Anonymous. So when you go and visit these local prisons and you don't see GED classes, you don't see some type of programs that they have the ability to allow, the first question you should be asking is, why is this not happening? We talk about rehabilitating, but we're not rehabilitating people because we're not giving them the goals and the means to be rehabilitated. Once again, we know that all of this is happening. We know that the facilities are cramped with airless compared with the spacious grounds of state prison, where inmates walk along outdoor breezeways and stay busy with jobs or classes. With a criminal record, as I stated last night in last night's broadcast, finding work is tough. It is extremely tough, and in some cases, it is impossible. In 5 years, 60 months, about half of the state's ex-convicts will end up behind bars once again. They will end up behind bars once again. So we're looking at, you get out in 2015, we're going to expect you to be back in jail in 2020, according to all of these statistics that we're actually talking about. Now, with a criminal record, we know that people are not willing to hire for a job. We also know that contracts between state and local prisons firsthand are out there. We know that 4-year sentence for burglars at a state-run facility exists. We know that a stroke of luck for someone with a relatively short sentence on a nonviolent charge who might easily have ended up in a sheriff's custody. All of these things exist. Now, with a certain amount of time left, New Orleans and the native areas such as Richwood and the Richwood Correctional Center and a LaSalle Parish run facility near Monroe, Louisiana. All of those exist, and they house inmates day in and day out. We know that DOC camps are out there. We know that Louisiana is coming on a downward spiral. So before we actually be able to deal with this problem, we have to look at this. Louisiana imprisons more people than any nation in the world. Any nation in the world. So we know that a lot of this stuff it's just going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time for us to be able to get all of this stuff done. We know that it's going to take a lot of time for all of this to even come to fruition because we still have people that are out there that's not voting. We have a lot of people that's out there that's not concerned. We have a lot of people out there that just really don't give a care. We're going to pause right quick. I'm going to play you a little Pastor A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder of Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. He's going to be broadcasting live tonight, again, over at Blog Talk Radio. You can reach him at Blog Talk USA, or either you can call in directly at 347-855-8118. Please continue to help support Pastor A.F. Riggins. Here we go.
Hello, this is Pastor A.F. Riggins of Real Life Church, Houston, Texas. We welcome you to hear our broadcast every Tuesday night right here on Blog Talk USA and WMAD Radio, www.SmokingGlassHour.com. Real people, real life, real answers, a Bible study. Every morning on WMAD Radio and SmokingGlassHour.com, 7 a.m., Monday through Friday, you get a Word of God, a sermon. And on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., the same place, you can hear a Word of God. If you're in the Houston area, come and visit us at the Real Life Church, 2703 Highway 6 South, Suite 150 in Houston, Texas. 10:45 a.m. is our worship. Also, you can tune in to Blog Talk USA on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. for Wrap It Up Live. Community issues with real people, real life, and real answers. This is Pastor A.F. Riggins. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Looking forward to hearing you on our broadcast. Remember, prayer still works. That's good news. That's the power in the name of Jesus to break every chain. Amen.
A family had no money, no food, and no place to live. Though destitute, they were a very solid, intact, and loving family. That fact caught the attention of the social worker who interviewed them. After processing the parents, the social worker turned to the little girl. She learned the child was named Mary. She was 6 years old and in the first grade. The woman gently asked, "Mary, how do you feel about being homeless? Are you okay with it?" Mary's answer showed a deep source of self-esteem and security. "Well, you've got it all wrong," she said. "We have a home, we just don't have a house to put it in." Her response reminds me of these words of Jesus. "Foxes have holes, birds have nests, but I've no place to lay my head." Some of the greatest and most influential people in the world didn't have great wealth. Spiritual, emotional, and relational poverty can be devastating too. On the other hand, even if we don't have an abundance of possessions, we can still possess a meaningful and influential life. Knowing who we are at the deepest level is a key to that perception. Now, a reading from Luke 9, verses 58 through 62. "And Jesus said to him, 'Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.' Then he said to another, 'Follow me.' But he said, 'Lord, let me first go and bury my father.' Jesus said to him, 'Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and preach the kingdom of God.' And also another said, 'Lord, I will follow you. But let me first go and bid them farewell who are at my house. But Jesus said to him, No one, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. You are listening to Perceptions on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. Just during the break, I just got some great information, some great news that all of this stuff that's going on in the background, there's even a greater facility that's going to be a part of this, where there will be a new sound room added with glass windows and doors, soundproof. There will be a whole lot of technology going in, cameras going live as broadcasts are going on. So again, we are on the move in 2015. And again, when you start doing things according to the way they should be, we already know that the good Lord shall bless those who are blessing others. These individuals have been able to bless me to be able to do what I'm doing here in addition to what I've already was doing. So again, we always like to send shout outs to everybody that's out there listening. Now, I know that we got some listeners down in South Louisiana. I know that we have some listeners out in the state of Texas, Longview, the Dallas, the Houston area. I know that there are some listeners out there in the western part of the state and even in central and north Louisiana. So we know that these broadcasts are reaching a lot of people. And as I go and look at my Facebook page, I see a lot of interaction that's going on. And I want to say I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Now, it's also been said that this Hollywood actor, writer, producer, we're going to be doing hopefully a live interview talking about racism, transsexual, and all those other types of things live right here on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. So again, if you want to be informed of unannounced shows, please text me at 81010 and put in the subject line the @ WMAD, and I can alert you in a matter of 5 seconds. Now we're back talking Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. Louisiana puts per 1,000 residents, they put 1,619 people per 1,000 residents. The United States, 730 per 100,000. Russia, 525 per 100,000. Rwanda, 450 per 1,000. Iran, 333 per 100. China, 122 per 100,000 residents. Afghanistan, over in the Middle East, 62 people per 100,000 residents. Why is the most industrialized country on this planet putting 1,619 per 100,000 when we have other people throwing rocks, which is their way of fighting, and the other people have missiles, drones, and all this other stuff? So the question remains again, what is it that Louisiana is doing wrong that we can turn around and make it right? Wow. Louisiana tops the prison ranking. It is consistently vied with Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, the state with the second highest incarceration rate for the worst schools, the most poverty, and the highest infant mortality. 1 in 3 Louisiana prisoners reads below a 5th grade level. The vast majority did not complete high school. The easy fix of selling drugs or stealing is all too tempting when the alternative is low-wage, dead-end jobs. Once again, we just provided you with a question that a lot of people always ask. Why is Louisiana at the top, followed by Mississippi? 1 in 3 Louisianans, the prisoners read below a 5th grade level. So the question is this: is education really doing the job of educating students? Because if we know that 1 in 3 out of Louisiana prisoners read below the 5th grade level and they're being incarcerated at 10, 11, 12, 13, the question is, What is happening in the classroom? That's a question that you have to ponder yourself. More money spent on locking up an ever-growing number of prisoners means less money for the very institution that could help young people stay out of trouble, giving a rise to a vicious cycle. Louisiana spends, check this out now, about $663 million a year to feed, to house, to secure, and provide medical care to 40,000 inmates. Nearly a third of that money, $182 million, goes for profit prisons, whether run by sheriffs or private companies. Now, if you are a voter that's out there, I think this should concern you. Again, if you are a voter, this should concern you. More money is spent on locking up prisoners. Okay, Louisiana itself spends $663 million. Now, let me ask you this question. If you ask any school system that's out there, locally, regionally, or in the state, how much money would $663 million, how much would that do for them? As a matter of fact, let's not even look at $663 million. Let's look at taking at least $1 million or $10 million and give it to each school. That's 60 school systems right there. You still got $63 million left over. So my question again is this. What is it that Louisiana is doing wrong? What is it that Louisiana can do right? The question is, you as a voter, you as individuals who are local, what can you do to talk about these topics to these local elected officials that are running for office? What is it that you can say to them to get them to understand what it is that you're asking them? The question is, we're trying to open up the dialogue so people can learn to be respected, even when they disagree. So people can learn to be respected when they have an idea that you have not thought of yet. We know once again that these prisons are for profit. We know that. The more that Louisiana invests in large-scale incarceration, we know that the less money is available for everything from preschool to community policing that could help to reduce the prison population here in the state of Louisiana and abroad. We also know that Louisiana prisons epidemic disproportionately affects neighborhoods already devastated by crime and poverty. In some parts of New Orleans itself, a stint behind bars is a rite of passage for young men. Now, as an elected official myself, this is a startling piece of information. In some parts of New Orleans, a stint behind bars is a rite of passage for young men. Young men. Young African-American black men. Why am I concerned about this? Because I am a black man. Why am I concerned about this? Because a lot of my friends are black. A lot of my friends have kids who are black. So not only should I be concerned about this, we all should be concerned about this. About 5,000 black men from New Orleans are doing state prison time compared to about 400 white men from the same city. Because police concentrate resources on high crime areas, minor lawbreakers there are more likely to be stopped and frisked or caught up in a drug sweep than, let's say, uptown college students with a sideline marijuana business. Again, the question is, what does liberty and justice for all mean? With so many people lost to either prison or violence, fraying neighborhoods enter a downward spiral. As the incarceration rate climbs in 2015, more children grow up with fathers, brothers, grandfathers, and uncles in prison, putting them at an increased risk of repeating the cycle themselves. So that negative stigma goes on from the father to the son, from the son to his son, which is the grandson, and so forth and so on. Angola Angola is a home to scores of old men who cannot get out of bed, let alone commit a crime. Someone who has made a terrible mistake in his youth. Here's the question. How can they be transformed after decades in prison and have little or no chance to freedom? We're not asking once again for you to feel pity. We're not asking for you to say, okay, well, they committed a crime, that should be thrown out. Nobody's asking any of that. Again, we're trying to give you a perception of what reality is for those who you may not come in contact with for your own personal reason. Louisiana itself has a higher percentage of inmates serving life without parole than any other state. Its justice system is unstingingly tough on petty offenders as well as violent criminals. In more than 4 years in office, the governor himself has only pardoned one inmate. Louisiana don't feel pity. We're not asking Louisiana or its residents to feel pity. Here's a quote. I feel every day everybody deserves a second chance. And that comes from Preston Russell, a 9th Ward native who received life without parole for a sting of burglars and a crack charge. He also says that I feel like dudes get all of this education under their belt and been here for 20 or 30 years. You don't think that's enough time to let a man back out and get another chance at life? An inmate in Angola, it costs the state an average of $23,000 a year. A younger life will rack up more than $1 million in taxpayer-funded expenses if he reaches the Louisiana male life expectancy of 72. Now, Mr. Russell is 49 and is good health. In his 13th year at Angola, he breaks into tears recounting how he rebelled against the grandmother who raised him, leaving home as soon as he could. First, he started smoking weed, but lo and behold, we just sent a bill that's about to go to the governor's desk to legalize marijuana. This guy here started out smoking weed. Then weed became crack. Then he started selling drugs and burglarizing stores in between jobs in construction or shipping just to support his habit. The last time he stole, Orleans Parish prosecutors tagged him with a multiple offender and sought the maximum, a multi-building. The same sentence given to murderers. In the final crime that put him away for life, he broke into Fat Harris and stole $4,000 from an uptown bar and a video poker machine. Now let's look at the final aspect of this, the political will. Tough fiscal times have spurred many states to reduce their prison population. In lockups in Texas, new legislation is steered low-level criminals into drug treatment and other alternative programs. But before we conclude, let me give you a little sound of some commercials that we got out there, and I'll pause and be right back. Well, I'll tell you, we're gonna do this short and quick. I'll pause and be right back.
You are listening to WMAD 24-hour global radio, where you can relax and listen to all genres of music every day, live talk shows, and we feature real people making a difference in the community. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend to listen to WMAD 24-hour global radio, a station that's on the move in 2015. Join us.
At Horace Auto, we don't just repair parts, we restore pride. From oil change, brake repair, or full service engine repair, give Horace Auto a chance to work on all of your automotive repairs. Horace Auto is owned and operated by Chris Howard, located in downtown Columbia, just off 165 at 235 Meredith Street, Columbia, Louisiana. We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD, talking today, Louisiana, the prison capital of the world. We're looking at about 5:56 p.m. Central Standard Time. In Louisiana, every baby steps are met with resistance. The governor the governor's office, with the backing of sheriff's lobbyists, says too many people are behind bars. Yet earlier in the year, he watered down a reform package hammered out by the Sentencing Commission he himself had convened. The commission includes sheriffs and district attorneys, so its proposals were modest to begin with. Measures like those in Texas, which target a subset of nonviolent offenders, are frequently lauded, but they may not be enough. Now, to make a significant dent in the prisoner numbers, sentences for violent crimes must be reduced and more money must be invested in the inner city communities. And that's according to a professor at Georgetown Law School, Professor David Cole. Such large-scale change, which has been attempted in other states, let alone Louisiana, can only happen through the political will. In Louisiana, that will appear to be practically non-existent. Locking up as many people as possible for a long period of time has reached a few while making everyone else poor. Everyone. Public safety comes second to profit, and that is not good at all. Public safety comes second to profit. You cannot build your way out of this. Very simple. You cannot build your way out of crime. If it just doesn't work this way, you cannot afford it. Nobody cannot afford it. Now, I'm joined by one of my engineers here in the room, and I'm sure that he's probably not going to want to say anything. So, Gary, you got anything you want to say? If not, we'll continue to conclude. But if you got anything you want to say, go ahead.
It's been interesting sitting behind the scenes with you, Baron. I've enjoyed it, and I've actually learned quite a bit listening to you talk about the Louisiana prison system. A lot of things I had not realized, and I appreciate you sharing everything you have today.
Well, let me tell you guys, Gary's one of the best computer engineers that's out there. This guy knows A to Z. He's very affluent. As a matter of fact, Gary can put me on the moon and make it look like I'm there, because I seen it with my own eyes yesterday. Again, based on what Gary just said, this is the exact goal of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on anything we do. We are trying to provide you, the listener, with information that you can take back to your own living room during your lunch break or whatever it is, and talk about it with the family, so you can go out and make a difference. Again, no one is asking for anybody to have sympathy. What we're doing is talking about being fair and impartial. We're talking about giving those who deserve the opportunity. Because again, in the broadcast last night, I said, how many times does Jesus forgive? If Jesus forgives, why cannot those of us who are human beings who say that we are followers of Christ, or we are followers of those who do good deeds? Again, you have been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. It's about 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I want to ask that you guys stay tuned to Pastor A.F. Riggins, Senior Pastor, founder of Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. Comes on tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch him on Blog Talk USA 347-855-8118. Thanks, and have a great day.